We'll start the digestive system. Digestive system is mainly responsible for digestion. That's why it is called digestive system. But this system has other important functions too. First, we'll see the parts of the digestive system. Then we'll talk about the processes take place in the digestive system. Then we'll talk about the peritoneum and the peritoneal cavity. Peritoneum is a double layered serous membrane like pericardium, pleura. You know you have pericardium around the heart, right? You have pleura around the lung. Around your abdominal organs, you have the peritoneum. So, most of the abdominal organs are within the peritoneal cavity. Then we'll talk about the individual parts of this system. First, we'll talk about the mouth, which is the first uppermost organ. We'll see the structure of the mouth, boundary of the mouth, those things. Then we'll talk about the layers of the GI tract or gastrointestinal tract, which is a tube, long tube, and if you cut the tube, in the wall of that tube, you'll see 4 layers. So we'll see what are those layers in the wall of GI tract. Then we'll talk about the secretion and regulation of secretion inside the GI tract. Then we'll talk about the nerve plexuses in the wall of GI tract, movements of the wall of GI tract. We'll also talk about other organs. First, your digestive system consists of 2 types of organs. One is called GI tract or gastrointestinal tract, and another is accessory organs. Accessory organs. GI tract is a long tube from the mouth to anus. So it is a long tube that extends from the mouth to the anus. So what are the parts of your GI tract? First part is the mouth, then you have the esophagus. Before esophagus you have the pharynx, so mouth, pharynx, then the esophagus, then stomach, small intestine, large intestine. So all those parts belong to GI tract and it is a continuous tube. In some places this tube gets wider, in some places gets narrower. For example, your mouth is the first part, then pharynx, then esophagus. You know, esophagus is a long narrow tube that takes the food to the stomach. The stomach is a very wide, expanded part of the tube. Then it gets narrow again and forms the small intestine, right? And then wider, large intestine. It is a continuous tube, but in some places it's narrow, in some places wider. Accessory organs include your liver, your pancreas, teeth, tongue, gallbladder. So those are the accessory organs, salivary glands. Those are the accessory organs of the digestive system. So you can see those organs in this picture. Processes take place in the digestive system. 6 processes takes place in the digestive system. What are those? Ingestion, propulsion, mechanical digestion, chemical digestion, absorption and defecation. Ingestion, very simple, putting the food in your mouth from outside, that is ingestion. Then after you put the food in your mouth, digestion starts. What is digestion? Digestion is also very simple, breakdown of food. The process by which large food is converted to small food molecules or nutrients. So that process is called digestion, breakdown process. Digestion could be mechanical or chemical. You know, after you put the food in your mouth, salivary secretion occurs, right? Salivary secretion, and saliva has the chemicals that will break the food. Also, what you do, you chew the food. So you break the food by pressure. So that is the mechanical digestion. So salivary secretion is chemical digestion, and breakdown by pressure, biting or crushing, chewing, that's the mechanical by pressure. Propulsion. Propulsion is the movement of food inside the GI tract. You know, after you make the food bolus in the mouth, then what you do? You swallow the food. So food starts to move downwards through the GI tract, and that movement of food through the GI tract is called propulsion. Absorption. The food molecules, which are also known as nutrients. Very often we use the term nutrients. You must know what are the nutrients. Nutrients are food molecules, fine food molecules. So after digestion, what happens? The food is converted to nutrients, fine molecules, and then your blood absorbs, that means takes the nutrients from the intestine, and that process is called the absorption. So absorption is the process by which the nutrients enter into the blood from the intestine. I am repeating again, absorption is the process by which the nutrients enter into the blood from the intestine or GI tract, you can say. Then those food stuffs are not absorbed. They will remain in the GI tract and eventually will get out from the body as feces, and that process is called defecation. Defecation is the process by which unabsorbed food stuffs get out from the body as feces. So those are the 6 processes take place in the digestive system. In this picture, you can see those processes: ingestion, mechanical and chemical digestion, propulsion, absorption, and defecation. Peritoneum and peritoneal cavity. Peritoneum is a double layered serous membrane. That means it has 2 layers. It has 2 layers: outer parietal peritoneum, inner visceral. It's like, pericardium or pleura. So peritoneum covers the abdominal organs. In your abdomen, you have a number of organs like liver, stomach, intestine, pancreas. All those organs are in the abdomen. Now, if you see inside the abdominal cavity, if I make a cross section like this way, this is the abdominal cavity, this is the wall, body wall. Okay? So, you have 2 layers in peritoneum. One layer is attached to the wall, inner surface of the wall like this, and then what happens, this layer moves in like this from both ends and cover some abdominal organs like this. This is another abdominal organ, covers like this. Okay? So you see the layer that is attached to the wall, body wall, this layer is called parietal peritoneum, and the one goes inside the cavity and covers abdominal organs. That layer is called visceral peritoneum. Okay, so this is the parietal layer and this is the visceral layer. Visceral layer covers the abdominal organs and parietal layer is attached to the wall. Now you see, for example, this is your stomach, this is your liver. Okay, those are covered by peritoneum. Now the space between the parietal and visceral layers, this big space is called the peritoneal cavity. This big space is around the abdominal organs between parietal and visceral layers. This space is called the peritoneal cavity. This cavity contains a fluid. That fluid is called the peritoneal fluid. Peritoneal fluid. This fluid prevents friction. In your abdominal cavity, you have several organs, right? Small intestine, large intestine, stomach, liver, all those organs are there. So the fluid prevents the friction between those organs. And now this part of the peritoneum that moves inward, this part is called a mesentery. Mesentery. The folds of peritoneum go inwards from the wall. So from the wall, those two are going in, and this part is called the mesentery. This is also a mesentery. This one. Okay. Okay. So here you see the same thing that I showed you in my drawing. So you see mesentery in the back, dorsal mesentery in the front, ventral mesentery, and you also see the peritoneal cavity, parietal and visceral layers of peritoneum. Now, mesentery has few important functions. One is, you see, since mesentery has two layers and there is a space between these two layers, what happens? The blood vessels and nerve pass through it and enter into the abdominal organs. So blood vessels and nerves pass through the mesentery. So it is a passage for the blood vessels and nerves that enter into the organs. Mesenteries tie the abdominal organs to the abdominal wall or body wall. It is like, rope, strong ropes tie the abdominal organs to the wall, like hanging the abdominal organs to the wall. So very important, because you have several organs in the abdominal cavity, right? So all those are tied to the wall, so they won't move down, will stay in their locations. Make sense? Otherwise what will happen? All of them will go down, right? So you need to tie them and keep them in right places in your abdominal organs. So they will move a little bit, but not too much. Okay, so that is another important function of mesentery. Another function is a lot of fat get attached to the mesentery. So it is one of the locations in your body where you will find fats. You know that stored fats work as a source of energy. When your body needs energy, the fats will be utilized. Retroperitoneal and intraperitoneal organs. Intraperitoneal, intra means inside. So you see these organs like stomach, liver, those are inside the peritoneal cavity. So these are intraperitoneal organs. You have few organs, those are located outside of the peritoneal cavity. For example, this is the back of the body, this is front. In the back here, you have two kidneys. So kidneys are like this, outside of the peritoneal cavity or peritoneum, and these are called retroperitoneal. So intraperitoneal and outside is retroperitoneal. For example, kidneys. Okay, now we will talk about the first organ of your digestive system, which is the mouth, uppermost. Boundary of the mouth or oral cavity, which is also known as oral cavity. The front boundary of the mouth or oral cavity is formed by the lips. Your upper and lower lips form the anterior boundary. The lateral walls are formed by the cheeks. Roof, if you put your finger and move up, you will touch the palate. So roof of the mouth is the palate and floor is the tongue. So those are the structures from the boundary of the oral cavity or mouth. Oral orifice is the anterior opening of the mouth. So opening of the mouth, anterior opening of the mouth through which you put the food inside. Ingestion, take the food inside the mouth, that is the oral orifice. Inside the mouth, the epithelial lining is stratified squamous. Why? Because you all know where the friction, the chance of friction is high, that area has stratified squamous epithelial lining. So inside the mouth, the friction occurs, right? Because when you chew the food, always friction occurs. So stratified squamous epithelium. You see, this picture is showing the boundary of the mouth. So you see, anterior boundary is formed by the lips. Roof is formed by the palate. Now palate has two parts, hard part in the front and soft part in the back. So hard palate in the front and soft palate in the back. Hard palate is formed by, I think I already mentioned when we talked about the respiratory system, but mentioning again, hard palate is formed by two bones. Anteriorly, maxilla, formed anterior two-third, and palatine bone, posterior one-third part. So that is the hard palate. Hard palate. Soft palate is in the back and it is formed by the skeletal muscle inside, and outer layer is a thick mucosa. So inside the soft palate you will find skeletal muscle and it is covered by a thick layer of mucosa. Okay, so that's the soft palate. The end part of the soft palate, which is hanging like this, if you open the mouth and look through, you will see the end part that is hanging like this, that is called the uvula. So uvula moves up and down. When you swallow the food, uvula moves up to close the passage here. So the uvula moves up, so the food will go downwards, will not be able to enter into your nasal cavity or nasopharynx. Okay, so uvula moves up when you swallow the food, moves down when you are not swallowing the food. So that is the mouth. Now there are some structures inside the mouth. The area between the lip and gingiva or gum is called vestibule. So you see, vestibule is the area between the lip and the gum, and the lip is attached to the gum by a small piece of tissue here in the middle. This small piece of tissue structure is called labial frenulum. Labium, remember, labium means lip. Lingual means what? Tongue, right? So labial frenulum. You have superior and inferior because you have two lips, upper lip and lower lip. Another small tissue structure which is under the tongue, that connects the tongue and the tissue underneath, that is called also frenulum. But what frenulum? Lingual frenulum. sublingual frenulum. Here you also see the uvula, that end part of the soft palate which is hanging. You see the opening of the sublingual salivary ducts. Under the tongue you see a number of openings, very small, but if you look carefully you can see under the tongue you have small openings of the ducts or tubes. Those are the openings of the salivary ducts, because you know that salivary glands secrete saliva and that must be released into the oral cavity or inside the oral cavity. So you have the opening of submandibular salivary duct, sublingual salivary ducts. So submandibular, these two, just close to the frenulum, and then you have the sublingual salivary ducts opening. Tongue forms the floor of the mouth or oral cavity, and tongue is a very interesting organ in your body. Tongue is the only organ that can move in many different directions, right? You can move the tongue in many different directions. You can push it forward, retract it, right? You can move up, down, angular movements. You can do all kinds of movements. And by the movement of the tongue is very important, because by the movement of the tongue we mix the food with saliva, we break the food, we swallow the food. All those tasks, right, are done by the movement of the tongue. That's why it can move in many different directions. Mixing the food with saliva, breaking the food, swallowing the food. Also, tongue has another completely different function, that is what? Speech, right? We produce speech by the movement of the tongue. Interesting. Tongue has another very important function. What is that? All of you know. Tasting the food, right? You have the taste receptors, taste buds in the tongue, and they help to enjoy the food. So all those are different types of functions of the tongue. Tongue has two types of muscles. Those muscles come from outside. For example, from your bones of the face, those muscles, or from the hyoid bone here. You know that from the hyoid bone some muscles go to the bottom of the tongue. So those muscles come from outside bones and get attached to the tongue. Those are the extrinsic muscles of the tongue. Extrinsic means outside of the tongue, but they're getting attached to the tongue. So just think that this is your tongue. So from your hyoid bone, the muscles are going up and getting attached to the bottom of the tongue, and they help to move the tongue downwards. From the sides, those muscles come and get attached to the side. They help to move the tongue sideways, right? So from different directions, muscles are coming and getting attached to the tongue. Those are the extrinsic tongue muscles. They help to move the tongue in different directions. Now, tongue itself is formed by the muscles. So inside the tongue, you have the muscles, and those are the intrinsic muscles of the tongue. Now intrinsic muscles, those muscles are inside the tongue, do what? You see, sometimes we move the tongue backwards, make it short. You can pull it back, right? So intrinsic tongue muscles, those are inside, those muscle fibers. When those muscle fibers get short, your tongue will get short. When those muscle fibers will relax, your tongue will get bigger. Okay, so you can change the shape of the tongue by intrinsic muscles. So intrinsic muscles help to change the shape of the tongue, and extrinsic muscles, those are coming from outside, help to move the tongue in different directions. Okay.
Is there any research about tongue ties and why some people their navel is further up than others? Do you know what a tongue tie is?
You mean the frenulum? Yeah.
It's further up. Is there any research why some have it and some don't?
It could be a genetical disorder, developmental disorder. When the baby borns, we see some babies, their tongues are attached to the bottom of the tongue.
I just found out that my daughter has it and she had to get it fixed.
Yeah, first parents don't understand why the baby is not sucking the milk, or so eventually you will figure it out.
My daughter, we found out when she was 20 months. She wasn't speaking.
Yeah, because when you found it?
When she was 20 months.
That's too late. Yeah, but they can't speak, so parents think probably they have some problem in their digestion or something else, but they don't understand them. Then the baby is not moving the tongue. So it is a simple surgery you can do, and you'll be fine, right? Okay, now on the surface of the tongue, you will see many tiny structures, tiny dot-like structures. Those are called papilla. So on the surface of the tongue, you have papilla everywhere. Inside the papilla, you have the taste buds, and inside the taste buds, you have the taste receptors. So this is the tongue, and in the front part of the tongue, you will see many tiny dot-like structures. There are two types of papilla there in the front part, mainly concentrated in the lateral or sides, lateral edges, and two types of papilla are there: foliate and fungiform and filiform. So filiform and fungiform papilla are in the front part of the tongue. You see there in the picture, filiform and fungiform. Filiform papilla and fungiform papilla. In the back part of the tongue, you will see larger papilla, and they form like inverted V or U-shaped arrangement. These are not too many, like 10 to 16 in number, and larger. These are called circumvallate papilla. Okay, and in the back, but in both sides of the tongue, you have another type of papilla, like this, foldings in both sides in the back part of the tongue. These are foliate papilla. So those are the four types of papillas we see in the tongue. The front part, filiform and fungiform. In the back, you have circumvallate and foliate. Circumvallate are larger and form U or inverted U or V, and in both sides you have the foldings. Those are the foliate papilla. Now, inside the papilla, you have taste buds. So, if I write from large to small, largest is the tongue. On the surface of the tongue, you have papilla. Inside the papilla, you find the taste buds. Inside the taste buds, you have the taste receptors. So that's how the taste receptors are located inside the tongue. Now, only you see these two, right? You see the tongue and papilla from outside. You don't see the taste buds or taste receptors because they are inside the papilla. Salivary glands. Around the oral cavity or mouth, you have three types of salivary glands: parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. Parotid salivary glands are the largest. There are two, and those are the largest salivary glands. Where the parotid salivary glands are located? Here. Front, anterior and inferior of your ear. So, front of the ear but slightly lower. And submandibular, it is telling you its location, right? Sub means under the mandible. Sublingual means under the tongue. So, those are the salivary glands. And salivary glands continuously release or secrete saliva into the mouth or oral cavity. The functions of the saliva are: saliva cleanses the mouth or oral cavity. That's why continuous secretion of saliva is important. Keeps the mouth or oral cavity clean. Moisten and dissolves food chemicals. We know that when you eat the dry food, more salivary secretion is needed to make the food moist. If the food remains dry, no salivary secretion occurs in the mouth, then what will happen? You won't taste the food. Make sense? So to taste the food, you must have the salivary secretion. And another is aids in bolus formation. Saliva has sticky chemical. That sticky secretion, mucin, that does what? Hold the food particles together and form a bolus of food. So, sticky secretion, which is called mucin, that keep the food pieces together and help to form a food bolus. Why bolus formation is needed? Because that bolus is when you swallow the food. If you don't make the food bolus, it's difficult to swallow the food, right? So once you make the food bolus, soft but large piece of food particles, that is easy to swallow. So bolus formation is very important to swallow the food. That's the purpose. Saliva has some chemicals that help to break the food, that means help in digestion. Salivary amylase. Breaks the carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates or starch digestion occurs by salivary amylase in the mouth. In the mouth, another chemical is secreted that is called lingual lipase. This is for lipid. This is for starch or carbohydrate, and this is for lipid or fat digestion. So you see inside the mouth, both amylase and lipase are secreted. That means inside the mouth, chemical digestion also occurs. Not only mechanical. Mechanical is chewing, right? Pressure. We break the food. That is mechanical digestion starts in the mouth, but also chemical digestions start in the mouth too by amylase and lipase. But no chemical digestion of protein occurs in the mouth. Why? Because in the mouth no protease is secreted, only lipase and amylase. That means only carbohydrate, fats and carbohydrates, but no protease is released in the mouth. But protein, carbohydrate, fat, everything is mechanically digested, right, inside the mouth, because we break by pressure and we break everything. We don't only break the protein or carbohydrates or fat, we break everything in the mouth by pressure. So mechanical digestion of everything occurs in the mouth, but chemical digestion, carbohydrates and fats, but not proteins. Okay, now you see the location of those three types of salivary glands. Parotid in front of the ear, submandibular under the mandible, sublingual under the tongue. And you must remember a few minutes ago I showed you under the tongue you have the openings of salivary ducts. So this is for the duct. The duct is this green tube. This is for the submandibular, and these are for sublingual. This is sublingual gland. This is submandibular. This is mandible. So from those salivary glands, the ducts are going under the tongue, and the saliva is released there. From the parotid, the duct is here. See, this is the duct for parotid salivary gland, and that one opens in the upper part of the mouth, the roof of the mouth. Composition of saliva. Saliva is a very watery secretion, water-like secretion. That means mostly water. 97.99.5% of saliva is water. So highly watery secretion. But it has some chemicals in it. Electrolytes are present in the saliva: sodium, potassium, chloride, phosphate, bicarbonate. Those important electrolytes are present in the saliva. Amylase and lipase I mentioned here. Mucin, I also mentioned mucin. Anybody? Mucin helps in what? Help to form bolus. Because mucin is what? Sticky, right? Remember I said sticky mucin that keep the foodstuffs together. And bolus is needed to swallow the food. Bolus formation is important. Metabolic waste, particularly urea, uric acid, those toxic chemicals are excreted through saliva, but a small amount, you know that urea, uric acid mostly excreted through the urine, but a small amount through the saliva. Saliva contains lysozyme, immunoglobulin A, defensive. These chemicals destroy the antigens or microorganisms. You know that we eat the food and the food might contain microorganism. We don't see microorganisms, right? And inside the mouth is closed area, so the chance of microorganism growth is there. So that secretion, lysozyme, immunoglobulin A, and defensive, they destroy the antigens or microorganisms. And also another chemical, cyanide compound, that destroy the microorganisms. So those are the chemicals help to destroy the antigens. Teeth. Two types of teeth are present or found in the mouth. In early stage of life, we get 20 deciduous teeth, and then those deciduous teeth are replaced by 32 permanent teeth. So what are those 32 permanent teeth? In adult person, we have 32 permanent teeth, 8 incisor, 4 canine, 8 premolar, and 12 molars. So those are 4 different types of permanent teeth. Incisors 8, canines 4, premolars 8, and molars 12. Now you have 2 dental arches. You know that upper arches, like St. Louis arch, right? You have 2 arches. Upper arch is attached to the maxilla, and lower arch is attached to the mandible. In each arch you have 16, because you have total 32, so in each arch you have 16 teeth. The incisors are the most centrally located teeth, and since you have total 8 incisors, that means in each arch you have half of that, right? 4. And another arch has 4, so total 8. Then next to the incisor you have canine. Those are sharp pointed. In each arch you have 2, so total you have 4 in 2 arches. Then you have premolars. In each arch you have 4 premolars, so you have total 8 premolars, right, in 2 arches. Now next to premolars you have 6, 3 in each side, molars. So you have total 12 molars. Now if I ask you this way, that in each half of the arch you have how many? So in each half of a arch you have 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, 3 molars. Make sense? So we can tell different ways: total, or each arch, or each half of the arch. Okay. uh, Incisors help to chop the food or cut the food like knife, chopping the food, because the incisors are flat and sharp. Canines are pointed, sharp but pointed, so they help to tear the food. Fleshy or fibrous food stuff can be teared by the canines. So that's why some creatures, like those animals, eat flesh. Their canines are very sharp and long. Premolars and molars, they help to break the food by pressure, grind the food, crush the food, right? So the surfaces are kind of flat like this. So two flat surfaces can do what? By pressure, can crush the food or grind the food. Okay, those are helped by the premolars and molars because their surfaces are wide and flat. So different types of teeth are used for different types of functions, right? But all those functions are to do what? Help in digestion, right? Breakdown of food. So that's the function. Structure of a tooth. If you see a tooth, it has three parts: crown, neck, and root. Only the crown part you can see from outside. So the part of the tooth that you see from outside, that's the crown. Root is located inside the bony sockets in maxilla and mandible, inside the bone. And the neck part is the area between the crown and the root. So here you see the crown part, you can see from outside, the top part, and then the root part is inside the bone, the bottom part, and in between the crown and root, that part is under the gum or gingiva, that part is the neck. Now we'll see, those are the parts of a tooth. Now if you see the structure, if you cut the tooth or break the tooth and see inside, what are the structures you have in a tooth? The outermost covering of the crown, that is white covering, is called the enamel. You all know that, right? That's the white outer covering of the crown. And under the enamel, you have very hard part, that is the dentin. And inside the dentin, you have the pulp cavity that contains pulp. And in that pulp, you have the blood vessels and nerves. So that's the layers. Those are the layers from outside to inside in the crown part: enamel, dentin, and pulp cavity contains the blood vessels and nerves. That's the crown part. Now if you see the root part, you see you have periodontal ligament. That's the ligament attaches or holds the tooth, attaches the tooth to the bony socket. You know that ligament connects the structures. So periodontal ligament holds the tooth with the bony socket. Then under that you have another layer which is not present in the crown, that is called cementum. Then you have dentin and root canal. So here in the root part you see enamel is missing but cementum is present. So just easy to remember. In the crown part you have enamel, that white covering. In the root part and neck part you have cementum. Then you have the dentin everywhere. And inside the root part you have the root canal. Through the root canal, nerves and blood vessels enter into the pulp cavity. Okay? So those are the parts of a tooth and the structures present in a tooth. Okay, now we'll talk about the regulatory mechanisms in the gastrointestinal tract. That's the last thing we'll talk about today. Regulation of GI tract. One thing you must remember, when we talk about the regulation of GI tract, that means regulation of two things: secretion and contraction or movement. So those are two important things occur in the GI tract: secretion and movement or contraction. So those should be regulated or controlled. Why? Just think very simple. When secretion should occur? All the time, same amount or not? What do you think? Secretion should occur all the time in same amount or not? No. When more secretion should occur? When you eat the food. When you don't eat, your stomach is empty. If lot of secretion occurs, that is not good. That can burn the stomach wall, right? Cause ulcer. So now you know that secretion should not occur in same amount all the time, right? When the food is there, more secretion should occur because you need digestion, chemical digestion. When your stomach is empty, less secretion or no secretion. So the secretion should be controlled. Another thing is movement or contraction should also be controlled. Why? Because when you eat the food stuff must move downwards, right? Food should move downwards. And also breakdown of food by contraction should occur. So the contraction occurs when the food is more. More contraction should occur when the food is more in your GI tract. Now contraction is needed for two things. One is to move the food downwards, and another very important is to break the food by pressure, right? So those are the two main tasks performed by the contraction: movement of the food downwards, and that is called propulsion, by the way, and breakdown of the food, that is called digestion. So propulsion and digestion are caused by the movement. Now, in the wall of your GI tract, you have two types of receptors. So, in the wall of your GI tract, you have two types of receptors: chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors. chemoreceptors. Chemoreceptors are activated by the chemicals. Mechanoreceptors are activated by what? What do you think? Mechano, pressure, right? So you have both chemo and mechanoreceptors in the wall of the GI tract. For example, in the wall of, this is stomach. In the wall of your stomach, you have both chemo and mechanoreceptors. So when you eat food, food molecules are chemicals, right? Remember, food is a chemical. So food molecules are chemicals. For example, you have eaten fat type food. So these chemicals will stimulate or activate the chemoreceptors. So the presence of the food or chemicals will activate the chemoreceptors. And after you eat the food, what happens? Pressure is created in the wall of the stomach, right? Because stomach expands. That pressure activates what? The mechanoreceptors. So, food chemicals activate the chemoreceptors. The pressure on the wall, because of the presence of food, activates the mechanoreceptors. So, both receptors are activated by the food. So, when the receptors are activated in the wall of GI tract, you have what? You have nerve plexuses. In the wall of GI tract, you have nerve plexuses. So from the receptors, what will happen? The signal will be carried by sensory nerve. You know, receptors, from the receptors, sensory signal is taken out by the sensory nerve, and then you have interneuron here. This is a small neuron called the interneuron. And then you have another neuron that receives the signal from the interneuron, that is called the motor neuron. So this is the motor neuron. So in the wall, you have sensory neuron or nerve, interneuron, motor neuron. Yeah, better is a neuron. Nerve is not wrong, but sensory neuron, then motor neuron. In between, you have the interneuron. Inter means in between. Now, here in the wall, you also have what? Glands. You know that you have gastric glands, right? In the wall of the stomach, gastric glands. And you know that the wall has smooth muscle fibers. So two things you have here in the wall. You have the glands and smooth muscle. So what happens here, this motor neuron goes to the gland as well as to the smooth muscle and tell the smooth muscle to contract and tell the glands to secrete. So what will happen when the motor neuron will give signal to the smooth muscle contraction will occur and the glands will secrete the chemicals for digestion. So gastric secretion will occur from the gastric gland. So two things will happen, muscle contraction and gastric secretion from the gastric glands. Okay. So now you see that if more food is here, more receptors will be activated, chemo and mechano. So more signal will go through the sensory to interneuron, from there to motor, and then motor neuron will tell the muscle to contract and gland to secrete. Make sense? So more food, more signal, more secretion, more contraction. Is it clear? Okay. So that's how the regulation works in the wall of GI tract. So let's stop here. We'll start from next slide in next lecture.